Hello and good morning. I'm Jenny. Thanks for joining me today. Good morning, Fran. I'm happy to see you. So I'm going to jump right in because I have lots of happy mail to share today, and I have lots of announcements and a really fun project for us to complete. So first is a piece of happy mail from my dear friend Maria. And could you take a look at this card? And I'm going to kind of move it to show the shininess. Isn't that amazing? This is not Stampin' Up products. She has used other products, but oh my goodness, it's so wonderful. I just had to share it. And it has this wonderful little saying here from Gandhi. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's sparkle all over the card. It's like very subtle sparkle. So really cool. Thanks, Maria. You are the bomb. Ha ha ha, get it? Her name is Card Bomb that she goes by, and it's really, really amazing. I really love it. Thank you. And then what was inside was even better. So I have another card here, and this is equally wonderful. This is from Sandra, and she's in Germany, and I just got this in the mail today and ripped it open so I could share it with you all. But look here, this is amazing, and I probably will try to recreate this. Sandra is a very talented crafter, and there's some wonderful stuff here. So we've got some good stitch stuff happening, and this is a belly band. It's made from vellum. We'll have a nice look at it, if you can see here. I love her colors. Good morning, Karen. And this is a special fold, but it is even more special on the inside. So we flip up and flip down, and then we flip it out. Isn't that cool? Look at there. And there's more paper here and a beautiful note that she's written inside. So this is just amazing. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Sandra. I couldn't be more humbled to receive your card and your wonderful words inside. It's amazing. So this was all the way from Germany. Isn't that something? Wonderful. So I have some swap cards that I've swapped with some friends that I wanted to show you. Most of them are inside plastic, but these are from some of my demonstrator friends that we participate in a swap, and I thought it would be fun to share their ideas with you too. You probably have already seen some of these cards around from other ideas from demonstrators. So here's this lakeside, and then we've got the vases on the back. Isn't that beautiful? And I'm not going to give who their names are because I didn't ask permission from them to give their names. So here's another one, really, really fun. I love this. This is textured. This is that subtle embossing folder. Really cool. Just going to run through these real quick. If I can get them to to go back in the envelope here. Okay. And we've got these two. We've got more of the vases. Aren't those pretty? Look at these just wonderful colors just like pounce out of the envelope here. And we have these two. I especially love this one. This one is from a very dear friend of mine. I'm amazed at this card because it's just absolutely gorgeous. And the use of this embossing folder with this stamp set is genius. Genius. You know who you are, my friend, and it's beautiful. Okay. So right before I get to the announcements, I wanted to share a card that I created and a story behind it. So I created this card last night. Now, did you guys see a post on my Facebook business page that I walked into my craft room and I found some that one of my kids had gotten my cat punch off of my craft cart, and they found some DSP and just started punching cats. And I pretty much knew who it was without needing to go and ask them, but I still thought it was hilarious. So here's the story behind this, and this card will be on my blog on Monday. I am on a, well, I guess I'm gonna have to like totally let the cat out of the bag. The challenge on Monday is going to be to use painted glass for the What Will You Stamp Challenge. And I needed to be able to use this stamp set, but for whatever reason, my brain was just, I don't know, I couldn't come up with anything. And so I kept using this piece. I knew I wanted to use this. This is cut from wood. And once I just put things together and it wasn't working out. But when I found these on the floor of my craft room, then I don't know what it was. It just popped into my head that, hey, I could put a little cat in front of it and make something out of this. So that was kind of a little gift from my son, and it was Trip. Trip is the one who did it. And this is his punch, actually, the cat punch. I got that for him out of last year's holiday catalog, and he wanted the cat punch so bad. And he loves to punch papers. Hey, Andrea, I was going to tell you that Trip has been asking to see you even more, so maybe after he gets home from school, you can FaceTime and talk to him, and that would really make him happy. He was almost crying yesterday, and I told him, Miss Andrea went to town. She's okay. She'll talk to you soon. So that's Andrea and my son have a special connection. They love each other, and he adores you, Andrea. So this little fun card will be out on Monday. I just wanted to share the story behind it because I had several people make a comment about these fun little punches. So it's not something that would typically be put together, this stamp set, painted glass, and the cat, but it ended up working out okay in the end. So let's get to a few announcements. I have some new promotions that are taking place, and we have some promotions that have just gone away. So we have bonus days that are starting, and the free stamp pad offer has just finished yesterday. So for all of those that have joined my Stampin' Up team, then I'm so glad to have you and look forward to a wonderful journey in the Stampin' Up family. Now, if you didn't join in any demonstrators, then you can join at any time. It's just there was a special promotion for a free collection of stamp pads. It was 10 free stamp pads. And Stampin' Up starts and stops pop-up surprises like this all the time. So if you're ever thinking about being a demonstrator, then there's never a bad time. And if you have any questions about it, just let me know. You know how to reach me by leaving me a comment here on this video, sending me a private message, or you can email me at jennystampsup@gmail.com. And you can go over to my blog at jennyhalldesign.com, and you can reach me there as well. So since today is August the 1st, bonus days have started. What bonus days are is for every $50 in product that you spend at Stampin' Up. And so this is not me selling my retired items on my blog. This is actual orders from Stampin' Up, and any product. You can pick anything from the clearance rack or new items. It's up to you. But for every $50 you spend, you get a $5 coupon code to spend in September. And I've placed my pre-order for the Christmas catalog, and I will have quite a few of these bonus days to spend in September. I'm sure that a lot of you will as well. So don't forget about bonus days. If you want to stock up on paper, this is a really good time to stock up and get your cardstock and everything ready for your holiday cards. The fall card season is coming up, and actually most of my order that I placed today from the holiday catalog is not Christmas products. It's products that are fall and I guess you would say Thanksgiving based. So there's lots of different variety I got. And I'll share that all with you when it comes in. But bonus dates are starting now. Paper Pumpkin still has this wonderful promotion happening. And there's an incentive for demonstrators as well. So I need a few more subscribers for Paper Pumpkin in order to earn the incentive. And I would very much love to be your demonstrator if you've ever considered being a Paper Pumpkin subscriber, or if you would just like to check it out, then it's a great opportunity to get 50% off on your first month. So be sure to sign up before August the 10th. And you could go to paperpumpkin.com and be sure to put me as your demonstrator. And you can put Jennifer Hall. I'm not sure if it'll come up under Jenny Hall, but Jennifer Hall. And then you can also go over to my blog, jennyhalldesign.com, and click the Paper Pumpkin icon that looks just like this. And then you will be taken directly over there. So there's a promo code that you'll need to use, and it's Bloom0818 or 0818. So I really would love to add you to my list of Paper Pumpkin subscribers. And for every subscriber, I give out a free alternate tutorial. So it's pretty cool. We love doing it together. Here is the August host code that I am using. This is fresh. Today is the first day of August, and so we've got a brand new host code. Any orders that you place on my online store, I would really appreciate if you would use this host code, and it is posted in all of the groups that I host. So if you're in my VIP group, then you have access to this host code, and this host code allows me to be able to send you a special gift for your orders that are under $150. If it's over $150, there's no need to use the host code because you'll be getting your own Stampin' rewards directly on your online order. If you have any questions about how that works, then just contact me and we'll make sure that we get it all cleared up. So another promotion actually kicks off today, and this is one that I've been talking about it, and so far you guys are loving it. It's called the Color Your Season promotion, and it has the Blended Seasons bundle, and we're going to be using that today. And I brought out a couple of cards that are made from Color Your Season, and there's a big variety, and there's lots of ways to use this stamp set. Blended Seasons is a limited time release, and I can't say enough good things about it, especially these dies. Look at how it stitches around the part that you cut out as well. And then here's another one, and then this is the card we made last week, and it has that stitch die on the inside here. So as you can see, there's lots of different ways to use this, and if you missed this card was on my blog this past Saturday. Oh, Fran's just ordered yours. Good job, Fran. Hi, Anne-Marie. No need to be sorry. I'm happy to see you here. This is made on watercolor paper, and I've got Blackberry Bliss, and then I've colored with Blackberry Bliss as well. And then this is the Wood Textures designer paper, and a little bit here of the champagne foil. So this card was a lot of fun for me to create. It is definitely a fancy fold, and it's a lot of fun. I really like creating the different tutorials that are from Addictive Designs. They're written by Bronwyn Eastley, and she runs Addictive Designs. She's a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and we have talked about her here many times, and I've had extra looks at some of the cards I created. So here that you can see that this is it's called a double Z fold box card, and the box area is here because there's a little strip, and you're able to put something there. And Bronwyn has lots of ideas using different themes for the double Z fold box card type of thing, and they're on her blog. Thanks, Anne Marie. Thanks for sharing. So there's lots of ways to use this. Here's another card that I created with this, and then I just inlaid. And there's so many different ways to use this. This was a video that was on my channel last week. It's kind of a shabby chic look. So the name of the stamp set is Blended Seasons, and you can purchase that today. It's a double stamp set, and it's good for all year round. And this is the dies that come with it as well. And in this release, along with these products, are another set of watercolor pencils. So if for nothing else you want to order the watercolor pencils, then just get those pencils because they are beautiful. They're wonderful, bright, more of a bright, cheerful collection of colors than the first set are. And they work together with the first set in order to give a really rich and deep color to your projects for your coloring. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways to use watercolor pencils. So if you're interested in the Color Your Season promotion and you need more information, then just drop me a note and I will follow up with you here. So here is a really quick look at part of the front cover of the holiday catalog. The holiday catalog from Stampin' Up covers the fall, Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, New Year, that whole season that leads from right now, end of summer, up to right after the first of the year. And there's also a lot of winter theme in here as well. And in some parts of the world, they are actually experiencing winter right now. So there's a lot of opportunity in the holiday catalog to build on the products that you already have from the annual catalog. And there's lots of different suites in here. And some of those suites coordinate with a suite that is in the annual catalog specifically. So as these products come out, and as I'm able to show you the inside of the catalog, then I'll be able to give you a little better of an idea how that works. Hey, Marcy. So if you get this little graphic and really have a look, then you might be able to see that this whole front layer is made of die cuts, and those are products from the catalog. So it'll give you a little bit of an idea what's inside the catalog. So if you do not already work with a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you would like to be added to my catalog mailing list, please let me know as soon as possible, because I've got my holiday catalogs that are already in the works. They'll be getting to me and then I'll be sending them out. There's always a catalog, and then there's a card in the packet that is made from something in the catalog, so that you can actually see something and you could hold it in your hand that is from the catalog. So that's always a lot of fun. And I usually put paper samples and stuff like that and put some different goodies in with my catalog. So if you need one, just let me know. Hi, Donna. Hi, Arlene. So another promotion that I can talk a little about right now is called Dashing Along. And the Dashing Along paper pack looks like this. And the only way that you can receive it is by placing an order during the month of September, and your qualifying order needs to be $250. So if you host a party or your own order will come to $250 during the month of September, you can choose to get this paper pack. So it's really nice. I have chosen a paper pack and I'll be able to share it whenever it comes in. And here's a few quick looks at what the paper can actually do. It's beautiful paper, and I really like this one that has the green words printed. It looks a little bit like newspaper type. So this is something really fun that's coming up. Okay, so we're done with announcements and we're able to get to a project. So I have already gotten a little bit of the project done, but we've got a lot more to go together. So I thought it would be appropriate for me to do a little bit of work in advance. So we're going to be using the Blended Seasons. And the stamp that I am going to use on my card base, and this is a Thick Whisper White card base, and it's 4 1/4 by 11, and I've scored it at 5 1/2. This is gold embossing that I made from this stamp, and this is from Blended Seasons. It's from the second of the 2 stamp sets, and it's this image right here. So this has been embossed in gold. It's been turned in the opposite direction. If you can see that this is a directional leaf and this is the same leaf, so it forms kind of like a circular pattern, and this is the leaf that I'm speaking of. So I stamped it like this with this little, looks like almost a handle part of the stamp. Okay, so that's the way I stamped it with Versamark ink, and then I turned it and did the same thing here. And this was heat embossed. Took me a little bit to do it, so I wanted to do it off camera in advance. So we're going to be using this on our card front, on our card base, and then we'll also be using some die cuts. So I've used 2 of the die cuts, 2 of the little dies from this die set. Everything we're using is actually from Blended Seasons, and you can see here that they are the same little piece, but there's 2 of them here, so that if you want to feature more than one of them, you can do 2 at one time. That's always really nifty to be able to have more than one. So I've got these little dies that we're going to set off to the side, and they're cut from soft sea foam. I also wanted to show what the negative space looks like, and I really like the way that comes out. So this could be used as a stencil, or it could be used in many different ways. You know, cut this out and then feature a darker color behind it. I really like that. It's funny how ideas come up. So this is a piece of watercolor paper, and I've left it on my cutting plate because I didn't want it to come apart. This is watercolor paper, and then the die cuts through and cuts everything off, but I left them in place so that I can color both the positive and the negative space. And we're going to go with a really fun color combination for this project. If you have any questions along the way, then please don't hesitate to ask. I will try to do my best to look up and make sure that we've got it going, but we're going to do some watercoloring. So the idea for the design is to take this card base, and then we're going to use a sentiment that is a long sentiment that's going to stretch all the way across this area here, which is why I left this part unstamped. And then we'll have these beautiful leaves and the negative space to be able to feature. Now, I'm not sure how the negative space is going to play out yet, but I want it to have the option and the opportunity to keep them in place. And so even if I pick them up, then I'll know at least that I've got an opportunity to use them. I hope that makes sense. So the color combination I chose is Rich Razzleberry, Pumpkin Pie, Shaded Spruce, and Soft Seafoam. The reason I chose these colors is because this is the color combination that I see in the Northeast United States where I'm living. And right now I see loads of leaves that are falling down. It's still the summer here. It's the 1st of August, and so we're going to start seeing more leaves fall down. The leaves that are falling they still have a green tint to them. They haven't started changing colors yet. Sometimes they have a little yellow and a little brown, and so I thought about going with green, yellow, and brown, but I changed my mind and wanted to really have just a jolt of color with them as well. But we're going to primarily work with green. Shaded Spruce and Soft Seafoam are a really good combination for me. I really like the way they work out together. So these 2 colors also work together, and they are colors that I see on leaves whenever they start turning here in New Jersey. So I'm going to start off with soft sea foam, and remembering that this is watercolor paper. Now I could take this off of my cutting plate now, but I know if I do that I'm going to lose some of those pieces. The reason they stayed put was because this was watercolor paper and it's heavier and it can stick into these tiny little grooves when they're passed through the Big Shot. So that's always something that helps out, knowing that it's going to be kind of staying in place. So I've got a water brush and I have a spare paper towel here. So I'm going to start with a little bit of diluted soft sea foam, and we'll just work on this leaf right here. I'm not worried about staying inside the lines, but I am worried about crossing over into the next die cut. So by adding a diluted soft sea foam, and if you look really closely, maybe you can see the yellow highlights that are in this as well. Soft sea foam is a really pretty green, and I think it carries a little bit of yellow green. And the color and the fluid is going to sink down in between all those little die cut areas. So shaded spruce will be a really nice accompaniment to that. And I went with the light color first so that I can add the shaded spruce on the paper when it's already wet. So using a little bit of diluted shaded spruce, I'm going to work it into those veins of the leaf. And I'll be able to see that the highlights are going to stay from the soft sea foam, but I also will be able to have the really pretty green color from spruce. Now I can get from a different area of the stamp pad and go a little darker, and then work the darker colors down into that center area. So can you see the dimensions start to evolve on this leaf? I hope you can. I'd love to hear what your comments are. And I'm just keeping more and more of that concentrated color onto the veins. So the reason that I wanted to work in this manner is I want to preserve the white space on my card and bring the color up. Just like, wow, okay, that's a lot of color, and it really shows up nicely on the white background. And as you guys know, that's my thing. I really like white design because it allows the color to really, really stand out. So I'm going in and grabbing even more concentrated ink, and no squeezing on this water brush at all. The aqua painter I'm not squeezing it at all. So now I have a nice variety of green color here on this leaf, and I'm able to keep the die cut, what are they called? The negative space, the offcuts, sometimes they're called. So I'm going to peel this away carefully, and I know that it's still wet, but it's going to need to dry. Now I could keep that all together. It looks like it's going to hold together nicely. So we'll see, maybe that'll work out. But this is pretty wet, and it's going to need to dry. And I like how the darker color has kind of traveled in where the die cuts are. It's traveled there on its own, and it kind of shows more dimension to the leaf. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys like this so far. All right, so now that we have, oops, I picked it up. Now that we have the concept together, then let's start really working on adding some fun color combinations. Let's go back to the soft sea foam, and then I'm going to add some really pretty highlights. Now I don't have a lot of the transferred ink here left, so I'm going to push from the back side with both of my thumbs. This is the front, this is the back, and that's going to allow some of the ink to transfer from the ink pad to the lid of the stamp pad. The case, the stamp pad case. So I'm going to again start with the green, but this time I'm going to kind of put it in some hints here and there. This one is really stuck in place. I have a feeling it's going to, there we go. Now it's moving. So I'm going to give just a few, and I'm getting that concentrated green, and it's going to sink down in between those die cut lines. And I have one more preserved over here so that we can get a nice balance, and we'll see what that looks like as we get a little closer. So pumpkin pie is a very vibrant, pretty orange color. I almost chose mango melody, but I want this to echo some of the fall colors. So as I add this really pretty orange, I'm going to make sure I get it in 3 different places in order to balance out the color. And going for the darker concentrated ink is okay. I think I like it with all these pieces still in place. It's going to give a lot more dimension to it, but we'll see as we get a little closer. All right. So we're getting the fall weather is going to be approaching very soon here in the United States. It's one of my favorite seasons. It's already started cooling off a little bit here. Oh, look at there. That's nice. I like how that just soaked right down in there. And this is the same stamp pad. Hi, Sharon. So what's the weather like for you, Sharon? Are you experiencing fall or winter? Sharon is in Australia, and so she has the opposite climate than I do in the United States. Okay, we're going to now bring that rich raspberry over. And add rich raspberry highlights and lowlights. And watch it sink down in between all those little die cut areas. Oh, how do you guys like this? I think this was a great color combination. And you can keep in mind that when red and green mix together, what color does it make? It's brown. And so brown is perfect for this type of project. That's why I didn't bring in my own brown. I wanted to use a brown that would blend itself from these colors. So I'm being careful to add each highlighted color in 3 different places. So let's see if we can get that really dark, rich raspberry. Here we go, that looks nice. And this leaf is starting to dry up. I might have to encourage it a little bit with the heat tool. We'll see. And if we do that, then it may curl it up. And that's not a bad thing either. So shaded spruce will bring in some more of those deep shadowy tones. Hi Dawn, how are you? Thanks for stopping in. So we've got lots of different mixed color here. And I'm going to be careful to make sure that each color I add, I get it in 3 different little small places. That adds the visual triangle that is pleasing to my eye. That design triangle. Okay. Take a look, guys. This is a lot of fun. I know you're watching, but I'm having fun coloring them. This is a lot of fun for me. I like experimenting with colors, and I like adding different types of media together and getting some unique results. Okay, these two leaves here are definitely colorful. They could be more colorful. I think they're going to need to dry up a little bit first. But this gives me an opportunity to be able to see what our colors are shaping up as. So I'm going to just move it out of the way. And now I have this last leaf. Now remembering back to what our design is. Oh, thank you guys. Thanks, Dawn. I can't wait to see if you try it too, Anne-Marie. So this is going back to what our design is. We have our embossed gold leaves, which are going to work as a background. This is the actual card base. And our sentiment will stretch across here. And now we know that these leaves are going to kind of pop in here and there. And then we've got these little filigree things that are die cut from the Stitch Seasons die cuts. And so there's so much possibility with this one stamp set and dies. There's like literally, I think it's working great for all sorts of occasions. So this is going to carry through our light color scheme, and we can be aware that in our design we're going to have some light colors placed around in different places. Let's just kind of put them off around like that. And then we're going to have these really vivid colors. They could probably go more vivid. This is more of what I had in mind, was something that was going to be very bright against these really light tones, and it would be able to preserve our white space as well. So that's kind of where the design is going. So keeping that in mind, I know that we've got these really pretty colors, but I'm ready for something that is going to be a kapow color. So let's create something amazing with our rich raspberry, because I know I'm going to have a little extra green going with the soft sea foam. And here in New Jersey, we get some very, very brightly colored leaves. So this is really going to be the brightest. I guess I could take this away. I just don't want it to fall apart. There we go. And again, we're working with watercolor paper. If you're just joining and you have any questions on what we're doing, then please pop a comment in and let us know you're here and catch up. So this is going to be the brightest of all of the leaves. And then we have these offcuts here that they stayed in place. I didn't use any special glue. This is just the watercolor paper. And this was my cutting plate, so I'll have to make sure that I clean the cutting plate really well before I put it back to my Big Shot. And then we're going to do the pumpkin pie, and I'm going to hope that we get a little bit of color blending between this really pretty purple and orange. So I'm going to put some orange here, and yeah, we've got some nice blending there. I'm going to move this out away from that pool of fluid. So another way that you can work with die cuts, that you're coloring them after they've been die cut, is to use Stampin' Blends. And I really do like the Stampin' Blends. I like the look of the saturation that the colors make into the paper, and they actually show the actual grains of the paper too. That's probably my favorite part. I like how there's a cardstock that we carry at Stampin' Up called Crumb Cake, and the fibers of the paper are visible. You can see them very easily. And so when I'm looking for a natural or an earthy looking project, then Crumb Cake is almost a natural go-to for me. So how about this big pop of orange? That's pretty big. It's really exciting. Amy, I am in South Jersey. I am in the southernmost county, as far as just the actual state. I believe Cape May County goes down geographically further, but it starts a little higher, but I'm in Cumberland County. I'm about an hour away from Philadelphia and an hour away from Atlantic City. Kind of in the middle. It's a lot of farmland. Okay, so we've got more of this really pretty rich razzleberry going, and I'm going to give it even more intense colors down there on that little stem area. So when these two colors meet, they are forming a little bit of a brown, which is perfect. Good morning, Betty. So we are working on the Color Your Season products. We're just not using the watercolor pencils. We're using our own watercoloring this time. Now this is another opportunity for me to intensify some of these colors. And this is drying up, but the paper is definitely still wet. So I'm going to move this guy to here. Put him somewhere else safe, another safe location. And I want to intensify the green. So since this has dried up a little bit, oh, thanks, Betty. Since this has dried up a little bit, then I'm adding in some more of that really deep green because I want all these leaves to be tied together. And because it's not officially fall here where I live, I want this to, the main color in the color combination to be green. We still see lots and lots of green leaves here, but they're starting to change just a little bit and fall down. More green leaves are falling off. And I can work a little bit more of that color into different little places. Like here on the edge. This is watercolor paper that I've die cut, and because it's really thick, the offcuts stay together. I could pop them away, but they're sticking on their own. So I'm going to use that to the advantage in the design. And I'm just bringing more of that really deep dark green. This is shaded spruce. There's different parts of my stamp case. The lid of my stamp case has some diluted colors, but it also has some that are full strength. And so I'm making sure that I touch my aqua painter on the part of the green ink that is not diluted. Okay, so we've got this guy. We can move back over and add just a little bit more here, and then we'll get them dried and work them into our project. So I'm not going to add quite as much of the shaded spruce this time, because this leaf can work a little bit more into being a transitional piece of the design that can move from the really green to a mixture and down to, these two are transitional pieces, and this piece have different colors from the color combination. So by making that transition, then we're allowing the eye to kind of move all the way down the design, and it'll start in one place, and you'll see, your brain will understand the transition. So we're not done with these guys yet. I'm going to clean this little pad off a little bit. I'll have to really get going with it earlier. I don't normally do watercoloring on my cutting plate, but I didn't want them to run away from home. I wanted all the pieces to stay together. So when I'm doing my heat embossing, I use a little cutting board here. And this is just something I picked up from the discount store. I think it was maybe $2. Really affordable. But it allows me to be able to not warp any of my work surfaces or to warp, like overwarp my cardstock. Dawn has an idea of Wink of Stella. Well, I have something up my sleeve that I'll share with you as we get to it, and it's going to be a little bit of a surprise. There's something that I add to the paper that's already dried, and it helps to preserve the colors. So if you follow me on my channel, then you might already know what it's going to be. So I'm going to use my scissors, or you could use a paper piercing tool so that I don't burn my fingers. And these leaves are curling up, which is perfect. The part that I really want to make sure, I have one run away from home. The part that I really want to make sure is dry is in between where all those little die cuts meet, where all the little lines of dye, the negative space and the positive space, little offcuts. So you can see that lightened up in color just a little bit as it dried. And this is the heat tool on low. So I'm really happy with how these offcuts have stayed in place. So I'll flip this guy over and get a little bit of dry time on the back. And I'm really, where these lines are, where I can see that the fluid has seeped through, that's where I want to really try to make sure that I don't have any fluid that's going to leak out onto my card as I apply these. So there is a unique look to a die cut that has been watercolored or a die cut that has been colored with Stampin' Blends. It's not the same as if the paper has been die cut first, and it's not the same as if it's been die cut from cardstock. It's definitely something very unique, and it's fun. So the way these are curling up is really going to help out the way they lay on the card. There we go. Give this one just a little bit more time to curl up. So I can encourage it to curl by just making sure I concentrate the heat in one area. And of course, we can always just give them a little bit of encouragement here, gently, because I don't want those offcuts to fall out. Here we go, that's got a nice, I can see a little bit of blue mixing in there too. And as you know, we did not use any blue. So this is natural color blending. There we go. So now that these are dry, I'm going to put them on a spare little scrap of grid paper here. And this is how I'm going to preserve the coloring and really get that really rich color back. This is petroleum jelly, just regular from the drugstore or the pharmacy or the big box store. Anywhere that you buy your first aid supplies, you'll be able to find petroleum jelly. So there's a couple of different ways to apply it. You can put your finger in there and just dip it out with your finger, or you can use a cotton swab, which I always have a few cotton swabs here in my little craft caddy that I keep on my video table. So that's what I'm going to use as a cotton swab. So I'm going to get a generous amount so that I can dab it on each one of my leaves. And if you haven't seen this used before, I know it may be a little bit horrifying. It doesn't take a lot of the petroleum jelly. It just takes enough. But watch what happens. So the colors are going to kind of look a little bit more like they did whenever they were wet. And it's going to give a satiny sheen to the leaves. And it really helps to build up the intensity of color. It doesn't take a lot, it just takes enough to be able to spread around, and it doesn't have to be a thick coating. It can be a very light coating as long as you're able to get all of the area of the paper die cut covered. Okay, there's another one. So what do you guys think of this method? Let me know what your thoughts are. And there's not a lot of dry time involved in this because it kind of soaks into the paper, and I just make sure that I'm able to rub over it, and if there's any excess, then it's going to come away. So I'll take the other end of the swab. Fran's asking, will it stay sticky? No, it isn't. This one here, you can see that it's already drying up. And it's a little bit sticky, but as it dries, it won't. It'll soak right down into the paper. And Vaseline is not really sticky. It's kind of greasy. But this is going to take all the extra bit off with the other end of the cotton swab. And then a paper towel will work too. Whatever you find that works best and that is your own method is the best thing to go with. And it doesn't really smear the color either. It's locking that color right down into the paper. So it's like a barrier, just like it is for your skin. It's like a barrier of petroleum jelly. So this little cotton swab can now go away. I do not need to use it again. And this is what the little die cuts look like. Now I'll rotate the paper a little bit, and you can see that they are a little bit shiny. It's like a satin finish to them. It's like a satiny look. And so those are dry, and they'll dry up a little bit more from the Vaseline, the petroleum jelly. So that's one little easy tip. It just adds a little something else to your project. Dawn is asking, is this for watercolor paper only? No, Dawn, you can do it for any paper. But the only thing I would be conscious of is if you are going to do it with regular paper, then watercolor paper can take a beating. You can rub on it, you can do lots of manipulations to it, break the fibers, and it'll still stay intact. But regular Whisper White paper will not. So that's the one thing to, regular cardstock is going to behave differently than would the watercolor paper. So here is the sentiment that is from our featured stamp set, Blended Seasons. And I chose this one because it's a nice, wide, long font that is able to stretch across the card. And this is the area that's going to lie and kind of divide the card into the design. It's going to go across here. So this is the sentiment that's big enough to be able to suit that need. So I thought when I looked at this that it would be fun to have the sentiment in two different colors. Why not? It would be nice to be able to have, two different colors going on. And it's a little bit something extra in my sentiment. So I've got the Stampin' Up markers. This is the rich raspberry that we've used on the leaf, and shaded spruce. So I wanted to use shaded spruce down in the little smaller words and rich raspberry at the top. I chose this way because there's more green in the project than there is rich raspberry, and so rich raspberry would be a nice accompaniment to the really big kapow punch of the color that's in there. I like the sentiment too, Betty. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm going to do the green first, and Stampin' Up markers are the same ink that are in the stamp pads. So our classic stamp pads are dye ink, which means water-based, and so is the Stampin' Up marker. Now the Stampin' Blends are different. The Stampin' Blends are made from alcohol. Okay, I didn't test this to see if this was going to stamp straight. I just kind of placed it on, and it looks pretty straight to me so far. But one way that I can test that for certain is to use a little scrap of paper. So I'll take a clean scrap of paper here and just kind of place it on there, and then do a really quick run over with this bottom and just test it out. Yep, it sure does. It looks straight enough to me. One thing I can see is that I ran over the edge when I did the marker, and so I don't want that to transfer off as a line on my stamped image. So I'm going to be a little more careful as I apply the marker to the bottom of the sentiment. If I put too much marker, too much of the ink, then it will kind of flood over, and I won't get those individual stamped lines to show up. And it looks like I went over, I overshot right here onto one of the top letters. But that's okay, because rich raspberry is really dark, and I believe it'll cover up the green. Now I'm using this Stamparatus because I want to be able to add extra color where the places are that I didn't get it as well as I should have. And that's exactly one of the best reasons for the Stamparatus for me. So I need to work a little bit more on the ES. And the Y over here. And now the D doesn't look as dark. So this is perfect for the Stamparatus. If you notice, I do not have that black pad here, the cushion pad, because this is a red rubber stamp, and the cushion pad is for photopolymer stamps. Okay, I think that will work. So now we can work in the top area. And I'm using the brush end. And exactly like we did the bottom, just trying to avoid the words on the bottom that are already stamped in green. So this does take a little bit of care, but something that can be done is to just stamp it all in one color. That would work. But I wanted to get a little bit of a variety here. And sometimes it's nice just to put a little personal touch on your handmade project. Make it look handmade. And I like having this in one space, that way I'm able to go back and restamp over and over again. So if you're familiar with stamp positioning tools already, then there's a wealth of techniques that we can use with those tools. now I'm going back over the areas I've already stamped just to make sure that I get them nice and bold. And then we'll be ready to start adding everything down to our card design. Okay, I think we're just about ready to move on. There you go. So now we have two-toned greeting, and it just kind of emphasizes things a little bit more in my eye. So that's the only thing we're going to need the Stamparatus for. So now we can start getting things together. So this is the sentiment that's going to kind of go right in the middle here. And I can see that when I cut the paper, it kind of curled up on me just a little bit. So a bone folder will work really great, or if you can't put your hand on your bone folder, like I can't, then I'm using the end of this liquid glue just to kind of make the paper lay down on the cut edge and keep it in place. And there you go. So we have been able to preserve the white area in this card so far, which makes me so happy. And we'll be able to really add those deep punches of color. So this is a great opportunity to be able to work some fun colors, some really nice color combinations. And this might not be a color combination that would come to mind when it comes to summertime and early fall card making, but I think it's fun. We're using soft sea foam, shaded spruce, pumpkin pie, and rich raspberry. So this can go now directly onto the card, and it is the same width of the card base, which is 4 1/4, and this is the stamp from the Blended Season stamp set that it's already been embossed in gold. And I just did like half of the stamp because we didn't need it to overlap here. Now, if you wanted to just stamp this sentiment in one single color, it would go and fit nicely on this block. Stamparatus is not necessary. So I'm going to just kind of eyeball it and center this as best I can. And now we have our opportunity to mix in some of these little filigrees. There's lots of different ways to use them. I die cut quite a few of them because I wasn't sure how many we would use in our design. And now we've got a great opportunity to use these beautiful leaves. So we can start with one color towards the top and then work our way down. I know that I want to have the change of color at the bottom because the leaves usually start off as this color, and then they work their way down a little bit more towards getting into fall. You know, the color change is much more prominent. So this is a great way to be able to use representation in the design. Now I can use different parts of the leaf. One way would be to cut it and use it as two leaves. That would always work also. And then we can snuggle them up underneath. And then we've got lots of these little filigrees. And they're lighter because they can fit underneath the other leaves and just be peeking out. Or underneath the sentiment bar. I can use either side. It's a lot of fun. It's fun using these little die cuts. See, that's just peeking out from the outside here. I don't want to use too many though because it's going to kind of take over everything. But just a few of them work well because it creates that dimension in the project. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of create a little bit of a cascading look to the leaves. I did not design this in advance, so this is just kind of doing a little bit of work around and see, how things are going to work best being placed. So this one I feel can just go directly down to the card. And then when I add the glue, I'm going to make sure that I cover at least one drop of glue on all those little offcuts because I don't want them to come away. I want them to stay in place. There we go. And that can now stay in place, and I know that it's not going to run away. It's not going to take off in our design. So this leaf here is partially on and partially off the sentiment holder. So I want to make sure that I use something that's going to help it balance itself and not fall off. So one regular size Stampin' Dimensional that covers many of those offcut pieces is just enough. And then more liquid glue here to make sure that we don't lose those offcuts, because when they're being placed in an envelope to mail, I want them to be able to really stay put. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and glue down this little guy here with just a tiny piece of glue. Of course, I used too much and it kind of moved around. The transition piece may be too low, Betty says. Okay, we can fix that. There we go. And our dimensional is going to hold a few of those things in place. And now we can add, now mini glue dots would also work really nicely to keep those little filigree things, to keep them to stay put. But I do want one to be around this area somewhere, so I'm going to go ahead and add it in. Now I can work with more dimension and kind of pop this up a little bit here, but I think this one here I'd like to raise and have this piece here just kind of lay underneath the sentiment. So by adding that petroleum jelly coating that we did, these leaves are really outstanding as far as they are going to stand up in the design. And let's see, we'll go this way. And they're going to really be seen. And they have just that nice little satiny sheen. There we are. Maybe a little further over this way. Hi, Anne. Oh, I'm glad you like it. And this little one here can get another Stampin' Dimensional. I'm going to make sure that I hold all those little offcuts in place because they're not otherwise secured. There we go. How about that direction? That's a nice direction there. Okay, we need another dimensional over here. It looks like I put it where it can be seen just a little bit, so I'll clip away just a small area. Okay, yeah, that'll work right there. Now I'm trying to be very careful to not, when I take the back off, I don't want the offcuts to come away. I just felt one of them want to leave. He wants to run away. Okay, here we go. And this is actually going to hold this little guy in place too. And it also helps to pull the design, the transitional colors all the way down as well. So I'm going to add a little drop of glue underneath that leaf to make sure that those offcuts don't jump away. So now it's time to do our finishing elements. So how would you give me some ideas on how you feel like you would finish off this card, because it already has a really bright punch of color. My idea is to use the metallics assortment of sequins, and I really like these coppery colors for late summer and fall. And I can get some really small ones, and they won't compete so much, but we've got gold here, so I need to use gold. That will stick with the gold theme. Just these little itsy bitsy ones. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding in little areas. So I want to have a filler, like these are like a medium filler. I didn't get this guy down well enough. There we go. So we have a little bit of a directional flow happening. Well, thanks, Betty. I'm glad you like them. I have gotten more use out of this assortment of sequins, I think, than any other set, because they have so many different colors, and those little white ones in there are also really pretty. There we are. Kind of nestle it down in between there, and then we'll get a third one just for the design triangle element. And they're kind of sticking to my paper piercing tool because of the static cling. They're in a plastic container, so it's bound to happen. Let's see, how about one on top of the leaf? I'm not sure how well it's going to stick because we've got the petroleum jelly there. So I'll kind of put it like right in between. And it looks to me like a triangle. And that will be enough. So I thought about a bow or some burlap ribbon. There's lots of different details that we could place on this. And imagine the color combinations that you can use by just pulling out. This was 4 colors that we used. You could say that the soft sea foam and the shaded spruce are both, a light and a dark shade of the same color. And then we've got some colors that have kind of evolved in the design as well. A little bit of blue came out, a little bit of brown mixed in. So there's lots of different things that were happening really good. Oh, thanks, Sharon. I'm glad you like that. And then I've got some of these extra little filigrees that I can place on the inside of the card. So that makes it kind of round off and tie the outside of the card or the card front into the inside and outside together. So I hope you really have enjoyed this lesson on watercoloring the die cuts, and that you liked the little hints along the way, that we're able to add that really nice colors that, you know, with colors that are in nature around us are a wonderful inspiration. So being able to put them into a project and have fun while we're doing it is just a really great way to share something that you love with another person. So this will be a nice card to send out to a friend and have fun at the same time. And I think that's important as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I have lots of promotions going on, so if you'd like to take advantage of any of those promotions, then please, you can email me, you can contact me any way you like. Thank you for all the hearts and the smiles. I appreciate it very much. And I will look forward to seeing you again next week. So stay tuned to my YouTube channel and my blog. I have a project every day that's new, something different. If you have not already subscribed to my blog, then go to my blog at jennyhalldesign.com. And there's a place that is on the right-hand side where it has the Shop Now and Join Now icons. And there's a little bar that says subscribe. And when you put your email address in that subscribe, then every day what my project is, it gets emailed directly to you. You don't have to go to the blog to check it out. So it just appears in your inbox. And that's really something a lot of people enjoy. So thanks again for joining me today. You can look for this project to be on my blog and my YouTube channel on this coming Friday. And I'll see you all again really soon. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Trip. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.